Let the joyous news be spread. Stephen Colbert's show is finally dead. What's going on? What a great Friday this has been. I gotta tell you, everybody's in a great mood today. Everybody's in rare form. President Donald Trump is in an incredible mood. He's getting lambasted in the press. He's suing one of his oldest friends. But man, to him, it's just, he's having a blast, and I'm all here for it. It started late last night. We'll get to that story here in just a minute. And Stephen Colbert, holy shnikes, has this been a long time coming. Yesterday, what a monumental day. Donald Trump got PBS defunded. He got NPR defunded. And he got Stephen Colbert defunded. I don't even know if that was on the list. I didn't realize Stephen Colbert was part of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, because it makes sense, because his show is totally biased, totally liberal, and really, really not at all entertaining. We'll get to all that news here in just a minute, but a couple big things. First of all, but you need to subscribe to this show, because man, this show's great. I'm not just trying to toot my own horn, but listen, here's what I know, okay? Here's what I'm learning. Every single day we're learning more and more that the fake news media, they're getting just decimated. And there's a reason for it, because they lie to you. They propagandize. They make stuff up. They're misreporting the facts. And by misreporting the facts, I mean ignoring the facts. They're making fun of half of the country, probably more. They're totally out of touch, elites, and they're just in it for themselves. I'm none of those things. I'm just, I'm one of you. I'm sitting here. I'm chilling in my office, my home studio. I'm hanging out at Patriot HQ in illustrious Mar-a-Lago in beautiful downtown Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm just shooting the breeze with my buds every single day. Patriots one and all from all over the world. And what we do is we talk about the truth. We talk about what we know to be factual, what we know to be real. We cut through the propaganda BS, and we just talk about the commonsensical news of the day. And that's why you want to subscribe. And every morning I do the 47 Daily Podcast, which is fantastical. In fact, I don't know what happened today. I guess it was because I used the word ASS in my title, which I may have to do more. Today's 47 Daily Podcast is going viral like COVID. It's going COVID on me, man, and it probably has to do with the ASS word, because people are attracted to profanity. I don't know why that is. That's why rap stars make so much money. I'm not one of them. I try to keep a clean. I try to run a clean ship. I try to keep a family-friendly show. So you should invite your family. In fact, share this with your family members, your friends, your family, your enemies. Think about this. This is my take on what we do here on Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. When I bring you this conservative information, when I talk about the great things that President Donald Trump and the administration are doing, when we just totally ridicule and admonish and belittle Democrats for like 90 minutes a day, think about how much you enjoy that. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And if you enjoy it, and you have friends and family members who are like-minded, they're going to enjoy it. And if you share this broadcast with them, if you share this YouTube video or this Rumble video or the podcast, if you just send them a note saying, you're going to love this, then they're going to love you for sharing it. And if you have friends on your timeline or neighbors or, I don't know, what do you call it? Coworkers, colleagues who don't share your values, well, then definitely share it with them, because there's nothing more fun than ticking off a bunch of lunatic liberals. And that's what we're going to be doing all day today. All right. So Donald Trump on his Truth Social is celebrating, like we all are, the demise of Stephen Colbert's show. He wrote, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next. Has even less talent than Colbert. Greg Gutfeld is better than all of them combined, including the moron on NBC who ruined the once great Tonight Show." Now, this is such a great Truth Social post for a couple reasons. First of all, he's basically just he's dancing on the grave of Stephen Colbert, which I'm all about. Because Stephen Colbert's show was horrible, irresponsible, chock full of lies, angry, and bad for the country. We'll get into that here in just a minute. But I love that he's just dancing, just tap dancing on the grave. He's got his big swollen ankles. He doesn't care. He's tap dancing all over Stephen Colbert's grave. And it's amazing. And then he's going after Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Crybaby Kimmel, who, God, that guy cries more on TV than anybody. That guy cries more on TV than anybody in a Hallmark movie. It's wild how much Jimmy Crybaby Kimmy is next. And then he goes on to say, by the way, Greg Gutfeld's awesome. And when it comes to Jimmy Fallon, He doesn't even acknowledge him by name. He just calls him the moron on NBC who ruined the Tonight Show. So everybody gets a shout out except for Jimmy Fallon. Kimmel gets a shout out. Colbert gets a shout out. Gutfeld gets a shout out. Jimmy Fallon just gets it. He's just known as the moron on NBC who ruined the once great Tonight Show. That wasn't even the best of President Donald Trump's truths overnight. Donald Trump was a truthin' fool. He was up all night. He was truthin'. I mean, we're going to read. In fact, I may just have to roll through. I may just have to start like 15 hours ago and just read you every single Donald Trump truth post. Because like I said, he's loving his life. He's living to his best life. He's almost 80. He's almost 80 years old and he's never had it so good. And he's never been so sharp and he's never been on top of his game like this. And I for one, I'm all for it. But let's start with Stephen Colbert, shall we? It all began with a Fox News. I mean, and this is big. When Fox News breaks in with breaking news, when Jesse Waters announces you're getting fired, you know it's big news.
CBS just canceled the late night with Stephen Colbert, just days after Colbert took a swing at his own network for settling with Trump. Listen.
This kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe.
Yeah, I'm gonna play that whole clip, so I don't want to get into it. But basically, that's what happened. Jesse Waters comes on and goes, "That breaking news: Stephen Colbert's show has been canceled." But it's even worse. It's even worse than that. It's not even. All right, I want to show you. This is not even. This is not even Stephen Colbert just getting canceled. Listen. Not only are they canceling his show or canceling him, they're canceling the entire. They're done with late night. They're like, you've basically destroyed the... And he said, I was going to say the 200 people who watch this show. I am deeply grateful to the 200 people who watch the show. In fact, you know what? That's pretty good. I'm gonna cut that up. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to run it through the AI generator, and I'm going to deep fake that later. I'm going to deep fake that later on because that's going to be good. That's going to get me some momentum on the old gram. But that's him. He's making his big announcement going, hey, guys, we just had Adam Schiff on, and then they canceled our show. Wow. Do you think that those two things could be related? We just had Adam Schiff on, and then they pulled the plug on our show. I can't believe it. Well, maybe if you didn't have a lying, cheating, censured representative who makes stuff up and tries to frame the president of the United States while propagandizing and just BSing his way through life. Maybe if you didn't have a guy who was, being investigated for fraud because he claimed residency in 2 different homes at one time, so that he could get a better rate on his mortgage. Maybe if you had somebody who wasn't just such a lowlife, as President Donald Trump calls him, such a terrible person on your show, maybe your ratings would be better. Adam Schiff, by the way, Adam Schiff believes that Stephen Colbert wasn't canceled because of his appearance. He believes that Stephen Colbert was canceled, get this, for political reasons. Adam Schiff on X, which I don't even know why I follow this guy, but I guess I do, just finished taping with Stephen Colbert, who announced his show was canceled. If Paramount and CBS ended the Late Show for political reasons, the public deserves to know and deserves better. Why does the public deserve to know? Why? It's a private corporation. It's a private company. CBS, Paramount, they're a privately held company. Yeah, sure, they have government licenses, but they can do whatever they want, and the public doesn't need to know squat. Elizabeth Warren jumping on this bandwagon. CBS's Colbert, let me see if I can pull this up. CBS canceled Colbert's show just 3 days after Colbert called out CBS parent company Paramount for its $16 million settlement with Trump, a deal that looks like bribery. America deserves to know if his show was canceled for political reasons. So that's the take. Now, what you look at, here's the thing. You look at the Stephen Colbert show, okay? And I had the ratings. I don't know if I have the ratings. His ratings were horrible. Greg Gutfeld pulled like over 3 million viewers in the target demographic last week. Second was, surprisingly, Stephen Colbert with just over 1 million. That's a third of Greg Gutfeld's audience. And keep in mind that Greg Gutfeld is on cable. Stephen Colbert is on, regular television. Then you've got Jimmy Kimmel coming in after that with like less than 1 million, or about 1 million. Jimmy Fallon with less than 1 million. Seth Meyers made the list for some reason. He had like 800,000 viewers. 800,000 viewers. That's what these people are arguing about. I had 1 million people I had 1 million people, over 1 million people. In fact, you know what? I'm going to show you something I don't usually show people. I'm going to take you behind the scenes to my Facebook page for just a minute because my Facebook page is somewhat popular. We have shout out to my Facebook peeps. If you're on Facebook right now, I'm talking to you. But listen, I want to, okay? I'm going to show you this real quick. I'm going to show you this. Let me see if I can just, here we go. I don't usually do this, okay? But this is my Facebook page for the last, let's see, this is for the last 90 days, okay? I'm sorry, 30 days. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I know what I'm talking about here. This is for the last 30 days. My Facebook page reached, are you ready? 16.2 million people. I reached 16.2 million people just by posting on Facebook, something we all do. Stephen Colbert reached 1 million people last week. I mean, come on, that is just, in 28 days, I've reached 16 times the number of people that Stephen Colbert reaches, and I don't get nearly as much money as Stephen Colbert does. I don't have a multi-million-dollar studio in New York City. I don't have 200 employees. I have 2. I mean, this is why Stephen Colbert got canceled. In fact, they say it was a financial decision, and I 100% wholeheartedly agree with that. I agree that Stephen Colbert's show was low rated. Nobody was watching. It was expensive. They had to pay him millions of dollars. They had to pay 200 people on their staff. They had to rent out very expensive real estate in New York City. They had to bring in a studio audience that have security measures. He traveled. There's all kinds of expenses for a 1-hour show every night that's not even funny and that nobody watches and that's getting beat by Fox News, which only airs on cable. 100%. It was a financial decision, not a politically motivated one. And take it from me, because I know I was fired from my own show. I was canceled from my syndicated radio broadcast for purely political reasons. I was fired by the lunatic liberals who run that radio station because A, I was too conservative. B, I talked about Trump too much. And that's a direct quote from their consultants. And because, I don't know, I was too entertaining about it. I didn't listen to their moderate to left-wing propaganda, and I called it out when I heard it. And when you have a bunch of liberals who run a conservative radio station and you have a true conservative on it, they're going to kick you out. Especially when George Soros gets into the game and buys up about 250 radio stations in the country with the aiding and abetting of the then FCC that fast-tracked the ability and the approval for him to do so, which he never should have been able to, because guess what? You're not actually allowed to have a majority ownership in a radio company or a TV broadcast company if you're a foreign entity, and George Soros is about as foreign an entity as they come. Stephen Colbert was not fired for political reasons. He was fired because he was too expensive, too unfunny, and his audience was just too gosh darn small. I beat him with just my Facebook page. That doesn't even take into account my Rumble page, my YouTube page, my X page, all the other. I got so many pages, I'm like an encyclopedia. That's why he was fired. He thinks, of course, it's because he called out parent company CBS 3 days ago because of their settlement with President Donald Trump. He believes, and Adam Schiff believes, and Elizabeth Warren believes it was political because of this monologue. What was that? The guy gets on stage, he lambasts and blasts his own network for settling with President Donald Trump because, let's be honest, it wasn't a nuisance lawsuit. They deceptively edited that interview to make Kamala Harris look like less of a doofus than she actually is. They interviewed Kamala Harris. They asked her a question. They sat back and listened to her answer and said, "What? wait, what?" And they made an editorial decision that they could not air that. They said, man, if we air this, Kamala Harris is going to lose. And if Kamala Harris loses, Donald Trump's going to be president. We can't have that. So their editorial department took it upon themselves to take one of Kamala Harris's answers that sounded not as doofy as the rest and exchange it with the answer she actually gave. That's called propaganda. That's called lying. That's called deceptively editing. That's called election interference. And Donald Trump wasn't going to stand for it. Donald Trump was going to let another election go by with a liberal entity in the media and the fake news and the deep state trying to keep him out of the White House, trying to rig the election. He said, no, you cannot deceptively edit those comments by Vice President Kamala Harris. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sue you. And CBS took a look at it and they said, they may have said this is a nuisance lawsuit, but there's also some merit. So we're going to write a check for $16 million and it's going to go to the President Donald Trump library, which, by the way, I mean, let's just tally up what we got. We got $15 million from ABC and George Stephanopoulos. Why? Because George Snuffleupagus, called Donald Trump the R word and said he'd been convicted of that crime when he hadn't. So boom, there you go, $15 million to the library, courtesy of ABC. CBS now, $16 million because of their deceptive interview with Kamala Harris. We're over $30 million so far for the President Donald Trump presidential library, and we haven't even gotten around to NBC yet. And now Donald Trump is suing Fox News, which we'll get to here in just a minute, which could be that could easily be another 30 million. Fox News is probably the richest of all. So Rupert Murdoch and News Corp, they're probably going to have to kick in at least 30 mil for this presidential library is going to be amazing. There'll be more money will be spent on President Donald Trump's presidential library than on Jerome Powell's renovation of the Fed. I'm telling you what, man, I can't wait to visit. I hope it's in Florida. Speaking of Kamala Harris, she was on the Stephen Colbert. This is why, by the way, let's cut down to the chase because we have receipts. Stephen Colbert was not funny. Stephen Colbert was a propagandist. Stephen Colbert went from being entertaining to being highly political. He did it slowly, but I mean, he got his start by making fun of Bill O'Reilly. His first show on Comedy Central followed up the Daily Show with Jon Stewart back when the Daily Show was funny. He called it the Colbert Report, and it was just him playing a character. It was him making fun of Bill O'Reilly. And then he got the CBS Late Show, and he became the lunatic left-wing liberal freak job that he is. And so Stephen Colbert decided, instead of being entertaining, I'm just going to be inflammatory. Instead of talking about everything in a comical way, I'm going to talk about everything in a political way. And instead of bringing on guests that people think are funny and entertaining, I'm going to bring on politicians. Not any politicians, the worst left-wing liberal lunatic socialist politicians he could find, like Kamala Harris. Wait a minute, where that was supposed to be my dramatic entry into the Kamala Harris. Here we go.
That's right. But they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not. And we should.
Yeah, that's her, by the way, talking about BLM. That's her going on the Stephen Colbert show so that she could promote the BLM riots and encourage people and say, look, you're not letting up and you should not let up. You're going out there and you're rioting and you're breaking things and you're looting and you're stealing and you're burning stuff and you're tearing down entire towns. And you're raiding police departments and lighting them on fire and turning over cop cars, and you should not let up.
That's right. But they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And this is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not.
They're not going to let up, and they should not. She could have taken the time to say, hey, guys, let up. Hey, guys, maybe stop with all the criminal activity. Hey, guys, maybe stop with all the vandalism and the destructive behavior. Hey, guys, maybe stop rioting. She didn't do that. She said, hey, guys, everybody beware, because they're not going to stop, nor should they. He also danced in the park with a masked Chuck Schumer. High-fiving. I don't even know what this was for. Yeah, I don't even know what that's Chuck Schumer and Stephen Colbert, man. Hopefully you guys haven't eaten before you saw that. That was Chuck Schumer, Stephen Colbert, dressed alike, by the way. They're totally twinning in this. I don't know why they're in the same clothes. And they're dancing in the park. Chuck Schumer's got his mask on, and they're high-fiving. They're high-fiving. I mean, it's really bizarre. They're both wearing these khaki pants with blue polos. They're dancing around and they're slapping each other's wrists. It's really, I don't get it. I never got the Stephen Colbert show. I never understood why it was funny. I don't think that it actually was. You may remember the infamous vaccine. Stephen Colbert, the infamous. This was one of the dumbest, the most ridiculous. I have to be honest with you. I couldn't believe that this was allowed on scene. It was just so horrible. And I think this was the jumping of the shark. This was Stephen Colbert, like Fonzie put on his leather jacket and jumped the shark on the water skis. I think this was it for Stephen Colbert. That's really I don't know if the writers were on strike for that one. I don't know what that was. Now, in all fairness, as bad as Stephen Colbert's show was, and it was pretty bad, as unentertaining as Stephen Colbert's show was, and it was pretty unentertaining, as few people that watched this show as they did, one of probably my favorite moments on television actually came from the Stephen Colbert show. This is probably the number one moment in Stephen Colbert's history. I watch it every now and then just for kicks. It's when Stephen Colbert got a visit from his old buddy, Jon Stewart, who basically shamed him and made fun of him and bullied him about the Wuhan virology laboratory in China not being the origin of the Wuhan Chinese virus. You may remember during COVID, people were like, oh, it came from a bat in the wet market, not the Wuhan virology laboratory. And Jon Stewart was on with Stephen Colbert and flat out basically, he came this close. And if you were listening to the podcast, I'm holding my thumb and index finger about as close as possible without them actually touching. Jon Stewart came this close to looking at Stephen Colbert on his own show and saying, what are you, a freaking idiot? Listen to one of the greatest moments. That is one of the greatest moments in television history. And it came from the Stephen Colbert show, the courtesy of Jon Stewart, who walked right into, basically, and here's the thing. I think that's Jon Stewart's way of saying, dude, who have you become? You used to be, I put you on Comedy Central. I gave you your start. We gave you the Colbert Report, and you were supposed to be one of us. You were supposed to be in there making fun of the man. You were supposed to be in there spewing the truth, harpooning the deep state, the elites, the folks who read the one world order. Now you're one of them and you're protecting them. And that's why Stephen Colbert's show has been canceled. And he has absolutely nothing to say about it because he was caught by, I think it was a TMZ reporter. I don't know who it was. Some reporter caught him on his way out the door asking about his cancellation. And here's what he had to say.
Stephen, anything you'd like to say to your fans about the cancellation?
All 200 of them? Nope. Nothing? No comment? By the way, I'd like to point out, I don't know if you noticed this, but Stephen Colbert walks to his very expensive car and he's carrying a blue and yellow, which I guess is Ukrainian. Maybe it was a gift from Volodymyr Zelensky. It's a blue and yellow backpack, but not like a man's backpack. And I know I have kind of a gay looking backpack myself, but so maybe I'm not the best person to talk about this. I'm infamous for my gay backpack. So maybe I'll leave Stephen Colbert. You know what? I'll leave Stephen Colbert's backpack alone. Plus there's enough other stuff that we can pick on. So I won't mention that his backpack looks even gayer than mine. I will mention though, however, check this out. Jeff Tim dropped us a super chat right at the beginning of the show on the YouTube. And he wrote, Mark, have you published your personal platform yet? Do you have a platform chat group? Whoa, that's a great idea. I should probably do that. We are working currently on our personal platform for Mark Kaye for Congress, and we will have that ready on August 18th. We're going to launch our website. We're going to launch our timer, our countdown clock. We are going to launch live at a place called Sneakers in Jacksonville Beach. And if you've never been to Sneakers in Jacksonville Beach, it's an amazing place. We had our inauguration party there. It's huge. The food is awesome. It's like steps from the ocean. They have massive large screen TVs, and they're one of us. They like us, and we're going to go there. It's going to be 1 year till primary day. And in Duval County, primary day is election day for the Republicans. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to make plans to join us in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, at the Sneakers on August 18th. We will have all that information for you. I will go through my platform. I will give a Trump-like rally speech in front of a Trump-like rally podium, which somebody remind me to get a Trump-like rally podium. And we will be hobnobbing, taking photos. We'll have merch for sale. And of course, we'll be taking your donations because I'm going to be honest with you. Running for office is not cheap. and everybody wants to volunteer. Everybody wants to vote for you. Everybody wants to send you their best wishes. But in order to get that far, we need everybody to send us some money too. So we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But Jeff Tim, thank you so much for that very generous super chat. Wait, there we go. You know what? $10? You get one of those. So if you could send us a super chat or a Rumble rant, or if you just want to go to markkforcongress.com and make a donation, all of those things help the cause. And if you help our cause, we'll help you every single day right here on Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. All right, let's get to phase 2, shall we? Let's get back to President Donald Trump's truth. Because like I said, last night, it all started last night. Last night, 15 hours ago, President Donald Trump went on Truth Social and he wrote, "The Wall Street Journal printed a fake letter, supposedly to Epstein. These are not my words, nor not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures. I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam and he shouldn't print this fake story, but he did. And now I'm going to sue his ASS off and that of his third-rate newspaper. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Which, by the way, is, again, that's my favorite, is the thank you for your attention to this matter. TYFYA. TTM. TYFYA. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I'm going to get a shirt. I'm going to just make the shirts. TYFYA. DJT. That's going to be our new shirt. I'm making that shirt tonight. And tomorrow is Saturday. Monday, it'll be available for you to purchase at Mark Kaye Shop. Anyway, in the meantime, so this Wall Street Journal story, let me tell you about this Wall Street Journal story. The Wall Street Journal published an article. And this article is an exclusive. Let me share it with you. Exclusive. Jeffrey Epstein's friends sent him bawdy letters for a 50th birthday album. One was from Donald Trump. First of all, I don't believe a word of this. Second of all, bawdy? What is this, the 1920s? When was the last time anybody used the word bawdy in common conversation or when writing a headline or ever? Even my in-laws who are like in their 80s, they don't use the term bawdy. I mean, they may. I don't know. I don't actually get into those kinds of conversations. But anyway, and it's BAWDY, not body, BOD, not like your body is a wonderland. It's your body letters were found out for the 50th birthday album for Jeffrey Epstein. Anyway, and then they pull up this old picture of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and you can tell it's old because Donald Trump's hair is very youthful looking. Jeffrey Epstein always looks the same. He always looks the same age. Oh wait, I think I have to sign in to read the whole thing. Let me sign in quickly and then I'll read you the entire. All right, there we go. And yes, I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. I subscribe to all the papers. Listen, I don't like it. Okay. I want you to know before I get haters. And I know I always have haters. My haters are my motivators. Anyway, but listen, I subscribe to all of them because my job is to read this schlock, tell you what's real, what's fake, tell you what's propaganda, what's not, point out all of the stupidity in it. And in order to do that, I have to subscribe. So, but you shouldn't. I would never urge you to subscribe to any of these places. Don't waste your money on the New York Times. Don't waste your money on the Wall Street Journal, any of these things. Let me do it. And then just make sure you subscribe so I can tell you what's what about all of these things. All right, here we go. It was Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday, and Ghislaine Maxwell was preparing a special gift to mark the occasion. She turned to Epstein's family and friends. One of them was Donald Trump. Maxwell collected letters from Trump and dozens of Epstein's other associates for a 2003 birthday album, according to documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. Pages from the leather-bound album, assembled before Epstein was first arrested in 2006, are among the documents examined by Justice Department officials who investigated Epstein and Maxwell years ago, according to people who have reviewed the pages. It's unclear if any of the pages are part of the Trump administration's recent review. The president's past relationship with Epstein is at a sensitive moment. The Justice Department documents, the so-called Epstein files, and who or what is in them are at the center of a storm consuming the Trump administration. If only that were true. On Wednesday, after angry comments about how the files are a hoax created by Democrats, President Trump lashed out at his own supporters for refusing to let the matter go. The letter bearing Trump's name, which was reviewed by the Journal, is bawdy. B-A. Bawdy means lewd, sexual, inappropriate, all those, basically like just perverted, all that kind of stuff. Like others in the album, it contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. A pair of small arcs denotes the woman's breasts. It's unfortunate for her. And the future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist, mimicking pubic hair. I'm sorry. Donald Trump's, come on. The letter concludes, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." In an interview with the Journal on Tuesday evening, Trump denied writing the letter or drawing the picture. "This is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story," he said. "I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women," he said. "It's not my language. It's not my words." He told the Journal he was preparing to file a lawsuit if it published the article. "I'm going to sue the Wall Street Journal just like I sued everyone else," he said. Allegations that Epstein had been sexually abusing girls became public in 2006, and he was arrested that year. Epstein died in 2019, blah, 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 blah. Justice Department officials didn't respond to requests for comment or address questions about whether the Trump page and other pages of the birthday album were part of the agency's recent document review. The FBI declined the comment. The existence of the album and the contents of the birthday letters haven't previously been reported. The album had poems, photos, and greetings from business people, academics, Epstein's former girlfriends, and childhood pals, according to the documents reviewed by the Journal and people familiar with them. Among those who submitted letters were billionaire Leslie Wexner and attorney Alan Dershowitz. The album also contained a letter from a now-deceased Harvard economist, one of Epstein's report cards from Mark Twain Jr. High School in Brooklyn, and a note from a former assistant that included an acrostic with Epstein's name. "Jeffrey, oh Jeffrey, everyone loves you. Fun in the sun, fun just for fun. Remember, don't forget me soon. Epstein, you rock. You are the best." Dershowitz's letter included a mock-up of a Vanity Unfair magazine cover with mock headlines such as "Who was Jack the Ripper? Was it Jeffrey Epstein?" He joked that he had convinced the magazine to change the focus of an article from Epstein to Bill Clinton. Dershowitz, who represented Epstein after his first arrest, said, "It's been a long time and I don't recall the content of what I may have written." The book was put together by a New York City bookbinder, Herbert Weitz. It isn't clear how the letter with Trump's signature was prepared. Inside the outline of the naked woman was a typewritten note, styled as an imaginary conversation between Trump and Epstein, written in the third person. Here it is. Voiceover. "There must be more to life than having everything." Donald Trump. "Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is." Jeffrey. "Nor will I, since I also know what it is." Donald. "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey." Jeffrey. "Yes, we do, come to think of it." Donald. "Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that?" Jeffrey. "As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you." Donald. "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." That's the article that the Wall Street Journal posted. That's the article that Donald Trump denies. That's the letter that Donald Trump said isn't true. And Donald Trump is saying, look, now I'm going to sue the ASS off of you, Rupert Murdoch. I'm going to sue the ASS off of News Corp and the Wall Street Journal. In fact, here's his other Truth Social post from last night. The Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump that the supposed letter they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake. And if they print it, they will be sued. Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Leavitt and by President Trump that the letter was a fake. But Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. Instead, they are going with a false, malicious, and defamatory story anyway. President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist. President Trump has already beaten George Snuffleupagus and ABC, 60 Minutes and CBS, and others, and looks forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned out to be a disgusting and filthy rag, and writing defamatory lies like this shows their desperation to remain relevant. If there were any truth at all on the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting for Trump to have won 3 elections. This is yet another example of fake news. And there is, of course, tons of stuff to back that up. There's tons and tons of information that we have that would basically say, yeah, you know what? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If Donald Trump were in those Epstein files, they would have been used by the left. In fact, Joe Scarborough, of all people, from Morning Joe on MSDNC, had on Jamie Raskin, who, I don't know why they keep putting Jamie Raskin on, but if they can't find better guesses than Jamie Raskin, they're going to be the next ones to get Colbert. This is Morning Joe Scarborough talking to Jamie Raskin about Donald Trump and why these files didn't come out earlier if the Democrats actually had them.
State congressman, you could have gotten that from 21 to 25 when Democrats controlled the DOJ. Why? It was a crisis then. It's a crisis now. Why didn't Democrats call for it from 21 to 25?
So, I mean, you'd have to go back and look specifically at particular prosecutorial decisions and what was taking place in terms of the other cases. So I don't know. We could try to reconstruct that record. But the point is that Donald Trump is the one who has led the crusade to say that that Epstein, who was his very close friend, and there's all kinds of pictures of them.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, look, basically he's saying we were busy. We weren't interested back then. And there was no political reason for us to do it. Now, it seems like there's a political reason for us to do it. So we're going to try to do it. That's basically Jamie Raskin and the Democrats. That's the only thing they have to go on is it's now politically important to us. Pramila Jayapal gets called out by CNN because she was never interested in the Epstein files until now.
If you see such a need to investigate this, why didn't you raise it during the Biden administration? I mean, we couldn't find that you made any public comments about Epstein in previous administrations.
Well, I would have been happy to raise it then as well. Frankly, we were focused on so many different pieces, but I have been one of the Democrats that has been consistent on what I call out Republican presidents for and Democratic presidents for, whether it is FISA, reforms that we need, whatever it has been. I've been pretty consistent. War powers. I've criticized Joe Biden just as I'm criticizing Donald Trump. I think transparency is not something that should happen only when you have a Republican president. It is something that we need for both Democratic and Republican presidents.
So then why didn't you call for more transparency earlier during the Biden administration? I'm just trying to better understand why you are so intent now on calling for this.
Well, I think I gave it the same focus that I'm giving it now. We haven't, I think I've released one tweet on this and you wanted to talk about it, so I'm happy to talk about it here, but it certainly hasn't been the focus. I'm just responding to what I think is a massive switch from the Trump administration around this issue. My focus has been on the big bad betrayal bill, and I will continue to focus on that. But yes, I think that this information should have been released under the Biden administration. It should be released under the Trump administration.
There you go. The big bad, whatever she called it, bill. Let's get our buddy Tim Burchett's take on all this. Nothing like a Tim Burchett clip to really get you in the mood for a Friday. This is going to start the weekend right. If you're like, it's Friday, I'm ready to party. Here's Tim Burchett dropping the hammer on CNN and Democrats regarding, what do we call this thing? Oh yeah, the Epstein hoax.
All right. Thank you very much, Manu. So I want to go straight out front now to someone in the center of all of this. That is the Republican Congressman Tim Burchett. He is a co-sponsor of a resolution in the House to release files on Jeffrey Epstein. I very much appreciate your time. So Manu's reporting, maybe there's a vote that will happen, that maybe Johnson has agreed to something on Epstein. You're obviously in the center of this. You're central to this legislation. Is there an agreement at this point?
No, ma'am, there's not. And honestly, if the Democrats were serious about this issue, they wouldn't have waited 4 years to bring it up. This is all politics. We need to be worrying about the victims in this thing, and we need to worry about justice and these dirt bags that were involved with these kids. And we need to publicly ridicule them and possibly hang them. But the reality is there probably isn't a list. I've known a few criminals in my life. Heck, I've served in elected office with a few of them, and they don't keep a list of their criminal activities. And Trump's not on this list, because if he was, Biden would have released it the first day. So it's a lot of politics and a lot of hype. We just need to get to the bottom of it, ma'am. And unfortunately, in this town, when it's delayed, it's kind of like the Kennedy assassination. We're never going to get to the bottom of it.
Hey, guys. That's Congressman Slingblade. Personally, I've been serving in Congress with a bunch of criminals, man. And I'll tell you what, ma'am, he's so polite. They don't keep a list of their crimes. They don't keep a list of their victims. I'll tell you what, no criminal worth his salt is going to make a list of all the people he done wrong to. No, man, that list don't exist. But it's all politics. If them damn Dems had this list, they'd have let Donald Trump's name out on the first day. Love me. Tim Burchett is every reason why I want to run for Congress and be a congressperson. Tim Burchett is the example of what every congressperson should be, in my humble opinion, and is not. Many of them are very, very far from what they should be. But anyway, that's that. So, by the way, there's one more thing I wanted to the other thing on CNN and this is a narrative that I guess they're pushing. Scott Jennings, he's been very busy. He's not only does he have a new radio show, not only is he potentially running for the Senate, but Scott Jennings, this guy also is on CNN just debunking these lies and myths over and over again. And one of them is that the MAGA base has been torn apart by the Epstein files. And now that Donald Trump is calling for Pam Bondi, because, that was the other Truth Social post that I wanted to share with you. Donald Trump last night called for, here we go. Based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetrated by the Democrats should end right now. That was Donald Trump ordering Pam Bondi because he's trying to put an end to it. He doesn't like the way it's been handled. He doesn't like the way that people are reacting. And so now he's like, Pam Bondi, go to work. And she's all like, yes, sir. Look at Pam Bondi, all excited now. She's like, President Trump, we are ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts. So there you go. Donald Trump says jump, and Pam Bondi says how high. And that's now apparently where we are, is we're going to get these grand jury transcripts. Pam Bondi's out there and she's trying to get the court to move to unseal the grand jury transcripts. That's where we are. That's where we are on the Epstein case. It's crazy how quickly we've come full circle in just 2 weeks. And a lot of it is the pressure that was put on by the base. But do not be mistaken that the base is fractured, or that MAGA has lost faith, or that for whatever reason we are not still of one mind, body, and spirit when it comes to making America great again, stopping the demonic, lunatic left socialist Democrats in their tracks, upholding the Constitution, and rooting out corruption wherever and whenever we see it. We are dead set on all of those things. We still want a strong economy. We want lower taxes. We want the federal government to be shrunk. We want the waste, the fraud, and the abuse dozed right out of here. We want the border to be secure, and we want every single illegal criminal who's in this country, who was led in this country, who was released into this country by Joe Otto Penn Biden and his merry band of criminal idiots. We want all of those people shipped back home to where they belong. Oh, and we don't want DEI, and we don't want wokeness in our military, and we do want the strongest fighting force ever created and established and trained on Earth. And oh yeah, we also don't want our kids to be asked what their pronouns are when they go to school. We would like them to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, among other various subjects that they offer now in school systems. We don't want boys competing against girls in women's sports. And we don't want fentanyl in this country. We want to be able to walk our streets without tripping over drug addicts or homeless people or illegal aliens or hypodermic needles or any of those other things. That's what we want, and we remain steadfast to that. We also don't want government corruption. And there is no fracture in the base. It's still us against them. And CNN Scott Jennings pointed that out.
And the question is the MAGA base going to come back together, or is this a base that is fractured?
The facts of Donald Trump's base are this, and we reported on this morning here on CNN. Since the Epstein business started, his job approval among Republicans has gone up.
All of these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files, you might think his approval ratings were going down with Republicans. If anything, they're going up.
He's over 90% with Republicans. It's not hurting him with his base. I know you're a Democratic strategist, maybe not an expert on the MAGA base.
In his base but look very frustrated.
But look what's happening. He's gone up. Why? Because while we're all sitting here dealing with this nonsense, out in real America, he's signing legislation on fentanyl. He's talking about the AI future in Pennsylvania. He's securing the border. Big, beautiful bill. So his numbers are going up with Republicans. This is a fantasy that Democrats have been engaging in since January that Republicans would abandon.
No, Scott, do not.
Trump, it's not happening.
Try to put this on Democrats.
How do we not put it on Democrats? How do we not put it on Democrats? It's really interesting to see how the Democrats have glommed onto this issue. They have taken the side of transparency in government. Is that really a thing? Transparency in government is what the Democrats are now all about. It's really, really eye-opening. By the way, I heard on CNN one of the worst things I've ever heard on CNN. I heard on CNN yesterday something I'd never heard before. I've heard a lot of crappy things on CNN. I heard something on CNN yesterday. I couldn't believe I had to listen to it 5 times because I couldn't believe it. I don't even know who this guy is, but apparently there's this new movement or this new idea in the Democrat Party, not the entire Democrat Party, but a segment of the Democrat Party. There's this new movement called ear truthers. I kid you not, ear truthers. And ear truthers don't believe that President Donald Trump was ever shot in the ear. I kid you not. That's the new thing. Ear truthers don't believe that President Donald Trump was ever shot in the ear. Let me play you this clip from, again, I don't know this guy, but Scott Jennings Scott Jennings was like, you have to stop the show. He turned to Abby Phillips. He's like, Abby, how can you just sit there?
He supposedly got shot in the ear. We never heard from his doctors.
Okay, what he said there, it starts off quick. So what this guy said was he, meaning President Donald Trump, supposedly got shot in the ear. Supposedly got shot in the ear is what he said.
Whoa. He supposedly got shot in the ear. We never heard from his doctors on that.
Did you say supposedly?
When did we hear from his doctors? When did we hear from his doctors?
Hold on. If y'all stop screaming at the table, maybe I can actually respond.
Supposedly?
Hold on.
Supposedly.
Okay.
That's where we are now.
Hold on a second. Teray, he was shot in the ear.
Thank you for hearing that.
All right.
But we can hear from the doctors. We would always hear from his doctors.
Did we hear from his doctors? Did we hear from his doctors?
Is this really your argument?
I mean, Scott, did we hear from his doctors?
I mean, this is where CNN is now. CNN is, wait a minute, did Donald Trump, who was standing on a stage in front of thousands of people at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, nationally televised by CNN, by Fox News, did he, who got shot in the ear, fell down to the ground, came up bloody, raced to the hospital? Corey Compertor, who was killed by bullets at that same rally from that same weapon. Was Donald Trump really shot? He was supposedly shot in the ear. What, they think it was just that Corey Compertor is hiding somewhere on an island? That Donald Trump just faked the whole thing? He had some blood packets in his hand and he smushed them on his face so he could get an iconic photo that said fight, fight, fight. That's exactly what they think. The Democrats say, where are the doctors? Why don't we hear from the doctors? Did Donald Trump really get shot in the face? Ear truthers. They're out there. They're Democrats, and CNN's putting them on television even.
I mean, all I know is I went to the Republican National Convention and he had a bandage on his ear.
All right. I don't.
He had blood on his face. Where did it come from?
Hold on a second.
Thank you for being why are we?
Gentlemen, just 1 second. I think this is like a total off the. This is not really what we're talking about, because one of the reasons he released this information is because there were photos of his swelling. There were photos of his hand. They kind of had to say something at some point. And look, it's a benign. Hold on, it's a benign condition. He is fine.
Right.
It's just a function, frankly, of being an older person. The physical part is not something that we're not debating whether or not he has this vein condition. But the question is, why will the White House not explain his inability to remember a thing that he experienced, that he did as president?
He misspoke.
No.
Okay, so Abby Phillips, here's what's happening. Abby Phillips is trying to do her best to not get sued, because Teray is basically calling the president a liar and saying that he faked his own shooting, which, by the way, is illegal. You can't go on television. Pardon me. You can't go on television and accuse anybody of committing a crime that they haven't committed. Trust me, I speak from experience. It's called slander. It's called libel. It's called slander if you say it. So that's what she's well aware of it. And she's stopping it and she's nipping in the bud. She's saying, look, he was shot in the ear. Okay. CNN is not reporting that. This dude, Teray, I don't know who he is reporting it, but CNN is not reporting it because we don't want to have to make a large payment to the President Donald Trump library. Presidential library in Florida. In fact, CNN's up. They're like the only network so far that hasn't kicked in a few mil. ABC has, CBS has. Abby Phillips knows Stephen Colbert got fired because he made fun of the $16 million. And you know what? Those executives at CBS, they're not stupid. They looked around and they said, well, we had to pay out $16 million to President Donald Trump because of 60 Minutes. How are we going to make up that money? Where are we going to make up that money? Where are the cuts coming from? And then CBS's Stephen Colbert goes on CBS and makes fun of CBS for making that deal with President Donald Trump. And they go, oh, look, I guess we found out where the money's coming from. Tell Stephen he's out of here and that'll save us the $16 million. And, we're not even going to replace him. Think about that. That's the real telling sign. The fact that they are not replacing Stephen Colbert means they're not taking the money and transferring it to someone else. They're taking the money, giving it to President Donald Trump because they screwed up and that time slot is dead. They're going to put some old, Beverly Hillbillies reruns or Little House on the Prairie or something like that on at 11 o'clock and probably, let's be honest, get better ratings than they would with Stephen Colbert. Heck, they could just run my YouTube videos and they'd get better ratings because, as I pointed out earlier, 16 million people came to my Facebook page just in the last month. So Abby Phillips is like, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want a whole bunch of people. I don't want a whole bunch of people that are going to be, fired because I said something about President Donald Trump that allowed him to enter a lawsuit against CNN and our network. And kudos to her. She was smart enough to notice that. Now, of course, they're mentioning this condition that President Donald Trump had, which, again, I want to play this. We played this live yesterday. I'm going to play it again. This is a clip of Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, who came out, and I want you to know, this was in the briefing part of the White House press briefing. There's two parts. White House press briefing, which comes first, and then onslaught of questions from the media. White House press briefing, onslaught of questions from the media. So in the briefing part, when she just volunteers information, she volunteered this information.
I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy, and the president remains in excellent health.
And that's something she stated you see here every single day when you're at the White House. And that is, to me, total transparency. That is, to me, total transparency. This image, by the way, this photo, I have it here somewhere. This photo yesterday was rolling around. It's Donald Trump. There's a split screen. There's one of his hand, and on his hand, he had a bruise. His right hand, he had a big bruise. And on one day, there was a bruise. The next day, they zoomed in and they put makeup on it. It's not a very good makeup job. I don't know who did his makeup. He couldn't have gotten like Melania's glam squad, because it's not a good match at all. And then, of course, there's this other photo with his ankles when he was at the FIFA World Cup, and his ankles look very large and swollen, and like, they're kind of popping up over the edge of his shoes. And so these were the two photos that were concerning. And Caroline Leavitt came out before anybody asked and said, I know you guys are making the rounds on social media saying Donald Trump's sick. Donald Trump's got a problem. What's wrong with his cankles? What's wrong with his hand? How much time does he have? They're making photos of J.D. Vance sitting at the Resolute desk, and they're like countdown clocks and things like that. And so she goes, look, here's total transparency. We went to the doctor. Here's what the doctor said. Here are all the tests he had. Here's what's going on. This, to me, is what being the president means, because it wasn't too long ago that we had a president who was totally inept, mentally unstable, physically unfit. This was a guy who, you may remember, fell up the stairs on multiple occasions. This was a guy who fell down on stage at the Air Force Academy. This was a guy who never knew how to exit a stage and just wandered around looking for the exit. Sometimes he would stop and shake hands with ghosts. This was a guy who, I kid you not, walked into a room and asked for a congresswoman who died in a car accident weeks before.
Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here to help make this.
Yeah, she's not there. She's nowhere. She's at the great beyond. It's very sad. This is a guy who couldn't even, speak. We have clips and clips and I'm not getting into it. We have clips and clips and clips of Joe Biden not being able to speak. And what did we hear from Joe Biden's administration? What did we hear from all of his aides? What did we hear from Karine Jean-Pierre, White House press secretary, former Democrat? We heard, there's nothing wrong with Joe Biden. Joe Biden's perfectly fine.
He is as sharp as ever, as I have known him to be in my engagement, in my experience with him.
Come on. Somebody spray her pants with a fire extinguisher, because liar, pants on fire. Come on. He's as sharp as ever. That not only did we all see, look, we all saw it. Here's the juxtaposition. We saw Joe Biden not be able to remember the name of people in his cabinet, like his defense secretary. We saw Joe Biden. He didn't even know the words to the Declaration of Independence. We saw Joe Biden. He couldn't say kleptocracy. There's this one. Do I have this? I'm gonna pull up a couple of these because these are memorable. But there's
you know how much I'm gonna do with the deficit this year? $1,500,000,000.
Yeah, we don't even know what he's saying. We don't even know what he's saying. Joe Biden, here he is forgetting the words to the Declaration of Independence. This is one of my favorites.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Yeah, you know the thing. You don't know the thing, but we do. Here he is trying to say kleptocracy.
We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy and the guys who are the kleptocracies.
Come on. And all the while, we knew something was wrong with that guy. We knew he wasn't right. We knew there was a problem. And all the while, the folks in his administration lied to you, and they lied to me. They lied to everybody. They looked as dead in the eyes. Dead in the eyes. And they said, oh, he's sharp as a tack.
He is as sharp as ever, as I have known him to be in my engagement, in my experience with him.
I mean, come on. It's just, and now we have Donald Trump. And look, we're not hiding. Donald Trump goes out in public every single day. He shakes people's hands every single day. He sits on the stage every single day. He likes to be in front of the camera. People notice the bruise on his hand. They notice his ankles. Caroline Leavitt, she doesn't walk out there and go, you're making it all up. He's fine. Those ankles are just his ankles. There's no bruise on his hand. It's the lighting. He's perfect. He's as sharp as ever known. She goes, no, you know what? We noticed his ankles. We noticed his bruise. We noticed that you noticed his ankles and bruise. And you know what we did? We went to the doctor, and here's a complete report. That's transparency. That's what you need in a president. That's what's going to restore trust to the office of the presidency, and already has. And as long as you have a president who doesn't hide from the truth, who doesn't hide from the media, who doesn't make stuff up, as long as you have a president like President Donald Trump who says, look, here's the deal. I'm going to shoot straight. And yeah, my ankles are swollen. You know why? I'm on my feet all day and I'm 80. Yeah, my hand is bruised. You know why? I take aspirin and I shake 5,000 hands in a month. And here's the thing about handshaking, all right? Because I've been shaking a lot more hands. Now that I'm running for Congress, now that I go to these events, now that I meet with people, now that I'm hobnobbing and schmoozing powerful donors. I need a lot more powerful donors, by the way. If you're a powerful donor, please powerfully donate to our campaign because, like I said, we need all the help we can get. But now that I'm doing all that, now that I'm making the rounds and I went to the TPUSA event in Tampa, shook a bunch of hands. Here's the thing about handshaking. When you meet somebody powerful, okay, and you're a dude, I don't know how it is with ladies. I don't know what the woman's handshaking thing is, but here's what it is. When you're a guy and you meet another guy and you shake hands, you make sure that you are shaking that hand firmly. It is alpha male to alpha male. And when you meet somebody like President Donald Trump, you're talking about the ultimate alpha male. So for example, somebody walks in the room and they go, oh, look, it's Mark Kaye. I bet he thinks he's hot stuff. I'm going to shake his hand, but I'm going to let him know who's in charge. So they come up and they shake my hand and they give me a firm grip because they want me to know that they're an alpha. And then I go, well, you know what? I'm actually also I'm a bad mamma jamma. So I shake hands hard and we're both shaking hands really hard. And then we pat each other on the back and we laugh and then they leave. And I go, wow, that hurt my hand. And then the next guy comes up and he doesn't want he's not doing a Pete Buttigieg, Tim Walz thing. That's this isn't white dudes for Harris. These are real men shaking hands. And it's not just, the thing about a handshake is, and this is something that maybe you don't know, I'm pulling back the curtain on manliness. This is what you're getting today. This is what happens on Friday. You get the news, you get the information, you get the commentary, you get the truth, and you also get to learn a little bit about being a real man. And the handshake for a man is not just a cordial greeting. The handshake for a man is not just a salutation. It's not just a way to show camaraderie. It is a way to show dominance over your other opponent. And every man is every other man's opponent. And when you shake someone's hand, and if they're a real man and they want you to know it, they're going to give you a firm grip. That's why if you go into a room with a whole bunch of power players, billionaires and politicians and heads of state, you got the Crown Prince of Bahrain, you've got Bibi Netanyahu, you're in Qatar with the other Saudi Arabian crown princes and Dubai people and whatever else. You got all these businessmen coming down from Silicon Valley who think they're hot stuff. Everybody's shaking your hand, not to mention the workers. Man, Donald Trump, he meets firefighters, he meets police officers, he meets ICE agents, he meets construction workers. He shakes everyone's hand, and those guys are massive. Of course, I'm shocked he doesn't have more bruises on his hand. I'm shocked he doesn't have a what do you call it? What they call a fake prosthetic hand just for handshaking. But that wouldn't be masculine, and Donald Trump is the ultimate alpha male. That's why handshaking is dangerous in some cases and could cause bruising on your hand. And it's something you don't even realize until you shake a lot of hands. And I've been shaking a lot of hands because, as I pointed out before, I am running for Congress. And if you would like to help me run for Congress and win guess what? We need all the help we can get because we're not going against an alpha male. That's the thing. Mark Kaye for Congress. Our opponent is a guy named John Rutherford. And John Rutherford, yeah, okay, he was sheriff. I get it. That's fine. But he is, I'm trying to pull up my website here so you guys all know where to go. Mark Kaye. How do you spell Congress? I should probably learn that before. There it is. This guy is, he's not out there. He's not out there doing great things for anybody except himself. He's not out there making things happen. He's not in anyone's face. He's not asserting his dominance. He's just kind of going through the motions, cashing big checks, making big stock trades. And that's not what representing the fine folks of Florida's 5th District is all about. What representing the fine folks of Florida's 5th District is all about is going up there and saying, hey, you want America first? Well, guess what? It starts at home. It starts in Florida's 5th. America first begins in Florida's 5th. And that's why, yes, I need your votes. Yes, I need your financial support. If you want somebody who's going to go up there and actually put America first and vote to slash your taxes and maybe even defund the IRS, and if you think term limits are a great idea and that these Congress people like John Rutherford should not be able to trade stocks because it's basically insider information, and if you can't do it, why should they? If you're one of those people, you should definitely vote for Mark Kaye for Congress, and we would love any financial support you can give us, like right now. I mean, don't wait. Don't wait till payday. Today's payday. It's Friday. I know how it works. If you're looking for somebody who's going to protect the Second Amendment at all costs, and oh yeah, while we're at it, the First Amendment too. If you're looking for somebody who believes in states' rights, who believes that you should have more of your money, who believes that education should be left to parents, if you want somebody who's going to fight for all of that and more, then you want Mark Kaye for Congress and not the status quo. And John Rutherford is the status quo. He's the status quoiest of all the status quo. And he's getting big money. He's getting big money. And there was a big article about, in fact, I'll read that on Monday. There was a big article about how he's out fundraising us 50-1. And it's true because he gets big donations from big companies that lobby him and that he takes care of when he votes. And he's not supposed to take care of big companies when he votes. He's supposed to take care of the folks in Florida's 5th Congressional District. If you're in Florida's 5th Congressional District, I need your vote. I need your help. I need your support. I need you to tell other people to help for me and vote for me and support me so that I can go out there and help you and vote for you and support you and represent you. I also need some cash. So go to markkforcongress.com. Any and all donations are welcome. Look, would I be telling the truth if I said, no, don't spend more than you have? Oh, look, we need the big money donations. We need the bottom line. The top line is what we get most of and we appreciate it. If you can make a bottom line donation, do it. We'll be very grateful and we'll make it worth your while. If you can make a bottom line or top line donation, $25, $50, $100, please do. Because like I said, we're in the early stages and the earlier, the better for us. We are behind the 8 ball. We're behind. We're never going to raise as much money as John Rutherford already has. Think about that. I know this. I know that this battle is going to be won knocking on doors and going out to bars and talking to the people, and I'm all for it. I'm going to be shaking hands till I look like President Donald Trump. If I don't have a bruise on my hand come election day, then I deserve to lose. No bruise, you deserve to lose because I got to go out there and meet the people. And I want those bruises on my hand because it means I'm doing my job. We're never going to win the money game, but we do need money to win the election. And that's where you come in. markkforcongress.com. Please help in any way, shape, or form that you possibly can. Speaking of help, let me share this with you. We got another super chat from Cesar Garcia, who dropped a $5 super chat and said, keep it up, which I will do. Cesar Garcia, and that $5 will help me keep it up. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody who's donated a super chat today on YouTube. I appreciate all of our Rumble ranters. We had some new people who subscribed. That's another great way to support the show. And of course, keep those donations coming. Listen, all weekend long, I'm going to be working on content all weekend long, and I'm going to keep you informed on what's going on every single day, Monday through Friday. We are going to be live with you right here from Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. So make sure you subscribe to this content. Make sure you set those notifications. Make sure you tell iTunes and Spotify and the rest of them, I love this show. I love it, and I want it every single day. I love this show, and I want you to give it to me, and I want you to give it to me good. And all you have to do to say that is subscribe or follow or whatever that little button says, because every day I'm bringing you the truth, no propaganda. I'm bringing you the honest information, and I'm bringing you commentary about stuff that it's important to you. What the government's trying to do to you, who's trying to do bad stuff to you, who's in charge, who's lying, who's taking advantage of your goodness, who's pulling a fast one on you, the wool over your eyes, where the real threats lie and how, of course, we can all combat them. Because together, me sitting here in Mar-a-Lago, in Patriot HQ, in Jacksonville, Florida, you sitting wherever you happen to be across the globe, together, all of us Patriots, we can come together, we can stay sharp, we can stay ready to fight. And we can and will continue to save the Republic. Mark Kaye for Congress.com is the website. Please go there now, make whatever donation you can. Do it in memory of Stephen Colbert's show. This donation in memory of Stephen Colbert. May his show rest in peace.